Ladies and gentlemen, Sega fans of all ages, welcome to the audio extravaganza. That is the Sega Guys podcast. I'm Dan the Mega Driver. I don't have James the Segaholic with me today, but I do have two new band members returning once again of the Sega Saturn SHIRO. So you will know of both, of course. We've got Pat Trainoko and we have Saturn Dave. Guys, it's an absolute joy to have you back on the podcast. How you doing?
It's great to be back.
We are
good.
Wild Stallions.
Yeah.
When you said back in the band, I'm just like, I thought of like Bill and Ted, Wild Stallions. Oh, doing great. Sorry. Just have to get a Bill and Ted reference.
We're just
in
all
there.
dust. We're just all dust in the wind, bro.
Yeah. No. It's been too long. It's been a while, so I'm glad to be joining you here.
Yeah.
Too bad James couldn't make it, but we got three of us here, so I'm sure enough folks to talk music, Sega music.
Yeah, we don't have a quartet, but we've got a great trio. So no, it's good to have you back because it's been a little bit since we had you on here. Pat, I think the last one we did was the Warhammer one, which is almost ironic considering the last video that came out at the time of recording this was a Warhammer video. So you know.
Yeah, no, it's good to be back. I'm happy to be on. I'd love to do some more Warhammer stuff as well once. But it's like I try to justify it, but it's like I'm not sure what more we could talk about unless we could like dig deep into one Sega game, which I guess would possibly be possible.
Yeah, it's getting that Sega connection, isn't it? That's where it gets tricky, but we'll figure something out. But yeah, so today we're talking about our favorite composers. I think I was going through my head, Dave, and I think this might have been your idea actually. This is the composers one. I think
was it my idea?
I think it was because I said.
Okay, well, I mean, good idea.
Dave is the music dude.
Well, you know, yeah, and Sega, like music and Sega go hand in hand, just like the blue skies, you know, like they're.
You see?
Am I wrong? Like, I mean, I guess Nintendo has a lot of music too, and I do love Nintendo music, but I think when I think of Sega. Like, I can't think of Sega without, like, a lot of the music that goes with the games, you know, because it's just so integral to enjoying the experience, you know?
And so many of the games the thing with Nintendo is a lot of it is I think, like a lot of jazz fusion-y stuff. Well, I think Sega's more broad. Like, I don't know, to me, Nintendo always felt like their music is always, like you know, like the jazz fusion, what's that called? The, like those the jazz fusion bands, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like I forgot that the bands that does Mint Jams. Oh, Cassiopeia, like stuff like Cassiopeia and stuff like that. Like that sort of music is always how I felt them to be, is where their bit influences. But I think Sega, while they have that influence, they have more of a broad influence in their music versus rock and hip hop and stuff like that.
Oh,
it's only recently Nintendo's really gotten more into doing like more. Like, you know, generic, I wouldn't say generic, like more different genres than their same old, you know?
But I think in Nintendo, it's always kind of resting on, a lot of it still rests on Koji Kondo, doesn't it? I mean, he's been there since the very beginning.
Koji Kondo and
which, like, we could do an entire podcast just about Koji Kondo. I mean, and, you know.
And who's the other one?
Really...
It's like the Todekeki, I forgot what his name was. He was inspired by KK Slider.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. Yeah, I think when it comes to Sega, you're right. It's just it's so much more broad, so much more wide range, and you've got a bit of everything in there. And you know, you've got. It doesn't seem like many are kind of as famous or have the recognition of Koji Kondo. It's kind of like I feel like there's like a parallel to the developer side in that you know Nintendo have like Miyamoto, Koji Kondo, and Sega have all these guys that. I think are, you know, as as great, but nowhere near as famous, you know.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Nintendo is though is they don't give that creative like credit to musicians and artists as much as you know Sega did back in the day. Like they're Nintendo always had an issue with crediting their artists and the music composers. So it's like it's no surprise that they only have a limited range and they're very picky who they pick. You know.
Yeah.
As I was going through my list to prepare for this, I realized, like you said, Dan, is like there's a couple names that I think everybody knows, and then there's just a ton of other names that are just flying under the radar and just as good, you know, but just like not as many people have heard about them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think going back to what you're saying, Dave, about music just being so intrinsic to that Sega experience, I think there's some games that just wouldn't exist. They wouldn't be the same without the music, and there's others like recent Sonic games. Obviously, I'm a big Sonic fan, and I'm a Sonic apologist for a lot of games that just aren't as good. But
Hmm.
whatever the Sonic game is, they've always got absolutely phenomenal music. Like even Sega's worst games have amazing music.
I mean, so, and we're going to be talking about composers, but I mean, I guess we could just talk a little bit about the music itself.
Yeah,
Like you go back to the earliest Sega games, you had Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, you had, the Golden Axe games had great music. The Altered Beast had great music.
Streets of
The
Rage,
Streets of Rage
yeah,
the Sonic games, of course, excellent music.
Moonwalker, even though it's
Toe Jam and
a cheat.
Earl, Toe, Toe
Yeah.
Jam and
yeah.
Earl,
Toe Jam and Earl,
everything
yeah,
so much about Sega is just so much about those games is having good music too. Like music was very important to Sega. It was important to their brand identity. They were cool, they were hip, they were catering to teens, and teens are like really getting interested in different genres of music and stuff like that, having Walkmans and stuff like that. And so it like made sense to really focus on and prioritize music in their games. And you had it with the Sega Saturn. You also had it with the Dreamcast games like I don't know, Choo Choo Rocket and
Jet Set
Fish
Radio,
Channel 5, Jet
Fish
Set
Channel
Radio.
5, Sonic
My
Adventure
good
1 and 2,
so oh god, Sonic Adventure 1, just that soundtrack alone.
Samba
So
de
I mean like
Amigo.
yeah.
it's hard to like I can't think of that many games on the Nintendo side that have like that killer music except for
And
like
even
some of
Dave,
the first party
now that you
stuff.
bring it up, that you mentioned, like to brag on Nintendo a little bit more, you think of
Hmm.
the awesome, because I do love a lot of Super Nintendo soundtracks, but you think about
Right.
it and it's all third party. It's Square and Enix, it's Capcom, it's
Yeah.
Konami.
Yeah.
Like Nintendo has like, okay, Legend of Zelda and Mario and
Star
stuff, but it's
Fox
like,
soundtrack is great.
Yeah, Star
You
Fox is
know,
I would
Zelda
even say
soundtracks are
that's even
great.
Argonaut's
Earthbound is
wheelhouse.
Earthbound is human.
Even
It's like
Earthbound,
okay, I mean,
yeah.
No,
yeah,
I
but I
think
mean,
I think Koji Kondo did the actually Star Fox, the original Star Fox soundtrack.
Oh, he
Even
right.
did?
though, yeah,
Okay.
even though
Yeah, and
Argonaut did
it's
the
an absolute banger. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. But I
yeah,
mean,
But yeah,
with
the
the
majority of this the famous Super Nintendo ones, it's always third party. While you go to Genesis and it's all like almost first party Sega that knocks it out of the park. I mean, of course, you still have the greats from the third party on the Genesis or Mega Drive,
Mhm.
but like the great stuff you hear from Nintendo is all, third. It's all third party guys, and
Yeah.
I don't mean to rag on Nintendo, but I'm gonna rag on Nintendo because it's like it's like, I mean, like I feel bad because it's like I love the Super Nintendo, and I would argue that I love the music out of the Super Nintendo than the Genesis, but I think it's all from the third
Oh,
party that's doing the weight on that.
Genesis will take SNES any day. SNES has like the samples up its sleeve, and you've got soundtracks like Plock, which are
Yeah.
amazing, like Tim Fallon, and like it does a bunch of cool stuff with samples. But the Genesis, as far as like FM synth and stuff like that, it's so good. And they you could tell they cared so much about music because they put a headphone jack on their console too, so you could listen to the hi-fi, stereo. And I mean, like Genesis soundtracks sound so good on vinyl too. Like, when they bring them over to vinyl, like it's just I listen to Genesis soundtracks in my car. Some Super Nintendo, but not as much. But I mean like the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast is a console where almost every game is the music is important, right? You can't even think about a Dreamcast game. Like if you play it on without any volume, it almost wouldn't be the same game. You have to have like
No, it
the
it
awesome
just
music
so
in
that era.
Propeller
yeah,
Arena or Crazy Taxi, with the licensed music and stuff. Even with licensed music, it was always fire. So I
it
mean,
was.
Like Sega's
yes,
just way ahead, and like Sega does what Nintendo don't in terms of music.
yeah,
Like I say what you will about the games and stuff, but like
uh-huh.
you have to be like clinically deaf to argue, oh, Nintendo obviously had the best the first party soundtracks. It's like, nah, you got to be like clinically deaf to like that's not even objectively Sega had the better artists. And I know it
We're
sounds
totally
inflammatory,
sabotage.
but
We're
it's like
taking over this podcast.
No, it's
One last thought
I'm
before
just throwing shade just because it's like, I don't know,
well,
it's
check
just how
this
I
out.
feel about it, and I feel like I need to open this can of worms up.
Like it's one of those things where you feel like it's part of what we lost, because it is whenever there's like Sonic Mania, great soundtrack. Sonic Frontiers, excellent soundtrack, you
Yeah,
know? And I'm like, okay, so whenever we get something Sega, it's like you just expect the music to be banger, you know? And that's one of those things where when there wasn't so much Sega, you feel like that's what we lost. Outrun too, my God. Like I keep thinking
yeah,
of games that have amazing
You know
soundtracks.
what? You know what's even funnier that's even Sega when it does a Nintendo game does the soundtrack better.
yeah.
Like F-Zero
F-Zero
GX is like
GX.
F-Zero
objectively
GX,
to fans
hell
to be
yeah.
the best soundtrack out of
Monkey
all the
Ball.
F-Zero games.
The monkey ball games were, here's a thought though. Like it made so much sense for Atlas and like Persona to come into the Sega fold because the Persona games
Yeah,
have such great music, and you're like, this feels like a Sega game. It feels like it has that same kind of like character. It
yeah.
belongs in their portfolio, you know? And so like that's something I swear you don't really get with Nintendo. Mario Kart, good music, but I mean like and yeah, no, actually, I mean Mario Kart does like the OG
Yeah,
Mario
Mario
Kart, some
Kart
of those.
soundtrack is
But
gas. Like I'm
again,
not trying
that's
to
Koji
hit it
Kondo,
out.
right?
Yeah, it's more
I like
melody based,
sure.
isn't it? It's catchy
Right? So it's
melodies, you know,
Yeah,
they're
the
kind of
thing is like I love it
earworms, they're
just because
great
it's
tunes.
all like Cassiopeia, especially Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and the new one. It's all jazz fusion like orientated music. Like it's just so gas. Like the soundtrack of both those games are just amazing. And like I said, there you go, Nintendo lovers. I'm being fair to Nintendo saying I think those soundtracks rock. But it's just to
Right.
me like overall when you look at the overall picture, if you had the lock me in the room, it's like okay, you can be your soundtrack could be the Sega soundtrack or Nintendo music, but like Sega every day of the week because
Sega every
even if I
day.
don't know what it is, it's gonna be a banger.
That's legit. Like if it came down to music alone and I was blind, like I
Mhm.
would choose Sega just because like orally or whatever, from an audio standpoint, it's so much richer,
Yeah.
you know. And yeah, so go Dan, this is a great
I
point
want to
for
hear
you
you.
to
What's your thoughts, Dan? I know this is your podcast, but what are your
Hey,
thoughts?
you guys are on to talk,
We're
man.
now
That's
the
it's all fine
hosts.
by me. But no, well, I'm letting you guys talk. It's great. But I was got, I've got a theory. I was going to put this to you guys. You know, Sega have always had. It seems like Sega always put a lot of focus on the soundtrack. You know, even something like Sonic Adventure 2, which is a game done on a
Mhm.
shoestring budget. They really constrained the development team shrunk from like 100 odd people in Sonic Adventure 1 to like less than 50, I think, for Sonic Adventure 2. Had no budget for it,
Right.
but they still put all this focus into the soundtrack. So
Mhm.
it's always been a focus. Virtua Fighter, Revo, and I think it's the same in Ultimate Showdown. They did redid the visuals fine, but they completely re-recorded the soundtrack. And at first I was like, I'm not sure. And then all of a sudden it was like, no, I love this, and I also love the other one. So it's like every Sega game has astounding music. But I have kind of
Mhm.
a theory or a thought. Do you guys think that it was Outrun that was the catalyst for that? You know, because it became such a focus in that game.
The
Because
original
the
Outrun?
original Outrun, because you think before that Sega had good music, you know, much like anything else. But
Mhm.
Space Harrier had a great theme. But
Space Harrier.
because Outrun had such great tunes, not just that they
That's
were
great
such
too.
great tunes, but they were the first thing you did, the first thing you do when you put your coin in the slot and you hit that start
Tune
button
the
is you got
radio.
the radio, you tune the radio and you pick your track, and then that is part of your whole experience. I don't know, do you guys think that maybe they saw that and the reception that got, and it was just like,
Mhm.
we got to have banger soundtracks to everything we do now?
I
Could have
think to
been. It's
me,
a good theory.
yeah, it's a good
What
thing.
were you
And I
gonna say,
do
Pat?
agree. I was gonna say I think Yu Suzuki had noticed that, especially playing Space here, and realized that oh hey, this music is like integral to this gameplay. And I think he was on the same wavelength where it's like maybe if we have a rockin' ass soundtrack, this is gonna sell gangbusters, and blaring out the speaker is gonna be what's gonna be focused on the arcade compared to the beeps and boops of the other the games or the non-music. It's like imagine a rockin' soundtrack on a bike blasting out or like in a steering wheel with a car or a gimmick, they're gonna
Well,
want to
let me
go
play
to it.
devil's advocate for a second, though.
Yeah.
Dan, you're a big Master System fan, so let's go back to Master System. And I mean, you got games like the original Fantasy Star, right?
Yeah,
Which
Yeah.
that had pretty good sound design in it too, right? Um, I don't know. Like, I think so. I
Alex
definitely
Kidd
think that,
was
yeah,
pretty
Alex
good
Kidd
soundtrack too. Alex Kidd at Monster World or
and
Monster was it? Wonder Boy.
And of course, Space Harrier was on Master System. So I think to a degree you're correct, and I do think that what it did do was it was a killer soundtrack. Also gave people the option on the music, of course, and it paired with, I mean, like I'm thinking like it did set a precedent, right? And then there's this expectation, and that's why I think like with Revo, you were talking about like these redesigned soundtracks, and there is an expectation among the fans by now. They know that that's a fan expectation that a Sega game has to have good music, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's not really a Sega game. I kind of felt like Manx TT Superbike, right? There was a game where it was like the arcade had really cool, really good music, and then when they brought it over to Saturn, the mix was like really low, and it just was not. It just didn't hit the way. I know Tantalus
Which was kind
ported
of
it.
surprising, wasn't it? Because,
It
you
was
look
really
at something like
surprising.
Daytona USA and Sega Rally,
Well,
and they
right,
just completely
because
redid them.
Takanobu Mitsuyoshi did the Manx TT soundtrack, right? So I just figured they would do, but when it came over to Saturn, it's underwhelming, and I love that game on the Saturn, but I always have to admit, like openly, that the music it falls below what I expect. As a Sega fan, I have really high expectations for the music, and it just doesn't meet that expectation. And I guess partially it's Tantalus's fault because the ball was in their court to get that done, and but yeah. So like I guess I should say that I think we all have really high expectations of Sega games to have really good music, and it does go. The roots go all the way back to stuff like Outrun, like you said, and Space Harrier. Space
Yeah.
Harrier for me, like that soundtrack, you just reminded me, and I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm gonna think of a bunch of others too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's one
where
of
do
my
we
favorite
begin
soundtracks
though?
ever.
Like when it comes to like the people behind these, because I mean, we
Yeah.
know a lot of these games and a lot of these soundtracks, but it's like you said, a lot of these names, a lot of people aren't gonna know. They just know the game and they know the
Yeah.
tune.
And I suppose that's kind of the idea is, some of these, I think there's some obvious ones that we'll probably shout out, but
Hmm.
it's shouting out and celebrating some of these composers, and I think that was kind of the idea
Hmm.
behind it, is giving some, some of them people know they're kind of almost household names in Sega fandom,
Hmm.
aren't they? But some of them, I think,
Yes.
yeah, will be kind of a surprise. But I don't know if we want to go around. We'll see if we can we'll go around and we'll shout out a composer and we'll talk about their works.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Dave, I'll come to you first. So give us a composer from Sega. Rubbing his
Okay.
hands. You got a list longer than mine. It sounded like. So I'm
Well,
interested to hear
I'm
what
just
you
gonna
got.
start with my first. This is the song. Like I don't go way back with Sega. Like I didn't have a Genesis before the Sonic pack-in. When Sonic came out and it was packed in with the Genesis, that's when our family adopted a Genesis, because the price was lowered and you had Sonic and it just was so much better than the Nintendo, right? So we got a Genesis, and the minute like we put Sonic in, it was like that. Da, 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 da. This is Masato
Yeah,
Nakamura from the
yeah.
Japanese band Dreams Come
Dreams come
True,
true.
right? I mean, like this guy's a this guy's just a genius. Like all these songs, the from Green Hill Zone, Marble Zone, Spring Yard, Labyrinth Zone, Starlight Zone, Casino Night Zone, because he did Sonic 2 as well, Chemical Plant Zone. I absolutely love all of this music. It's so great. Like I have it on my daughter's little. She has like a mic, so she can play music and stuff like that. I put all the Sonic songs on there, and she likes them too. Like they're just universally great. I think you would have to just hate music to not like this stuff, because it's all just earworm, like ear candy, every single. And I'm just like, how can this guy be such a brilliant genius to write these kind of tunes that are just timeless, basically? So yeah, Masato Nakamura, that's my number one choice to
Yeah,
start it off.
yeah.
It's definitely a good one. I think I noticed that maybe the people that come from like rock and roll backgrounds really is the ones that really enhance Sega's music library. Because while I think that's really the biggest thing for me is that they understood what was cool, was hip at the time.
Hmm.
They were the in crowd, so it wasn't a bunch of composers or guys. It's like, oh, these guys are rock and roll dudes. This is like they want music people are gonna like have fun to and be excited about, and they have a
Right.
different philosophy on it. And I think that's what really sold a lot of it is that these guys just knew what they were doing. They knew how to make a rockin' soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, his background was music, wasn't it? From Dreams Come True, and you got Sweet Dreams was actually the kind of turned into the ending music for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which
for Sonic the Hedgehog, that's a good call out. Yeah, Sweet Dreams. Yeah, it was like so he kind of stole from his own work, to make the Sonic. But I mean, it works,
For the longest time, I didn't know it was another song. Sorry, Pat.
What? Won't be the first artist that's done that. That's on our list.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Now, for the longest time, I didn't know that that it was an actual song until Sonic the Hedgehog 06, which kind of reprises it, and for some reason, the Western version threw Akon in there for some reason to do a kind of a remix of it. But apparently he put that in as kind of as a gift to Sega. But he did a few other things other than the Sonic games. I think he did a few tracks for Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution as well. Which has a decent soundtrack. And I think he did a few other bits and pieces. I'm pretty sure he did the ending theme on Sonic Jam. If you do all the trials in the Sonic world, jump in the ring at the end. I'm pretty sure that he does the ending theme for that as well. I need to double check that. But he's one that people. He's probably the most famous one, but probably the least famous. Sorry,
he was a bassist.
Yeah, I was thinking he's probably the least famous for his Sega work, but he's obviously the most famous because he's known outside of Sega. Would you agree? Because in Japan, he's obviously huge.
He's huge in Japan. Yeah, he was. I mean, that's the thing. They got an idol. They got a J-pop idol to help them make their music. And I mean, so he was the bassist of the band. So he understands rhythm and melody. Because he's the guy holding it all together. But I mean, so it's great. Like, I love bassists. They kind of know the best of both worlds, and the
bass is really in my opinion, the best instrument.
And I mean, you listen to the original Sonic soundtrack, and there's so much bass in there. There's like these kind of almost like Seinfeld bass lines, but no, not really to that degree. But I mean, seriously, like, you got the bass, you got the drums, and you've got like this. Like Labyrinth Zone, for example, is one of the most frustrating zones in the game, but I love that music, and they kind of like had to put that awesome music on that because it would keep people coming back, and they'd be like, well, it may be a frustrating zone, but at least the music is great, except when it starts going bump 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 bump.
Yeah. Oh, but Labyrinth Zone, it has the bass out of The Best of Your Love, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah.
It's because it's.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and Spring Yard Zone, and those kind of like counter rhythm stuff that I just love how it hits so hard, And I've seen people do like covers, like really heavy covers, with like full instrumentation and stuff like that, and it's just so good, So those songs translate so well.
Because this is probably a lot of the artists, when they wrote the songs, probably wrote it that way too. Like, they used the instrument they're familiar with, or they demoed it out before they put it on the synthesizer,
Wow, he did a lot. He actually did a lot. Like, he did Sonic the Hedgehog, Mega Drive, and Master System, Game Gear, Hedgehog 2, Sonic Jam, composer on Sonic Jam.
Technically, that's cheating.
Sonic Advance, yeah, right. Technically, that is cheating. You're right, because it's just. And he didn't do Sonic World. That was another person for Sonic Jam. But yeah, no, like, what else? Lots of Sonic games. Virtua Fighter 5. What else? All the Sonic. Like, he's listed on all of like the reissues of Sonic. So Sonic and Mario at the Olympics. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's listed the Smash Bros, and it's probably just kind of the Green Hill rendition in Smash Bros.
Basically, yeah. Like, how many?
I mean, the funny thing is that there actually was a Sonic composer that did a song on Smash Brothers too.
Right.
Which we probably bring up later once we get to him. Because I know we're going to talk about him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's a cracking shout there, Dave. And all time
cool.
Great. But Pat, should we come around to you? What's a composer you'd love to shout out?
So this one's kind of interesting because you think I'd say something else.
I wouldn't expect anything less from you, Pat.
But Brad Buxer.
Ooh, okay.
I would expect that from you.
Wait, what?
I would expect that from Pat because he's mentioned Brad Buxer so many times.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of. He actually is from a local band in Arizona called the Jetsons. They're a really great band.
I knew that.
They're from Tempe, Arizona, and Really, really good. I love them. They have a great soundtrack. Go listen to their album. They have an album, bunch of EPs. But yeah, he actually did songs on Sonic 3. Usually that's really the main one. But he had three iconic songs, which is gonna be the credit songs, Ice Cap Zone, and then of course the Casino Zone from that.
Yeah.
Which is credited to usually a certain pop idol. Maybe
For
someone.
folks who don't know, he was Michael Jackson's keyboardist, right?
Yeah, he's
like,
been a lot of he did a lot of art people. He worked for Air Supply, he worked for Paula Abdul, he worked for Michael Jackson, and yeah, a lot of people.
Have you seen that video where Michael's like, "Oh, Brad."
Yeah, oh yeah, because he's like not keying it out, but it's Michael's really funny with that. Like they always are good buddies, and
Right,
I think
right.
that I think that the things that the story basically is that it was given to Michael Jackson. Michael's like, Brad, can you do this? And it's like, yeah, I'll do it, Michael. And
Sure.
and he used the credits for three songs, which is the Casino Zone, which is based off the melody of Jam, or maybe vice versa. Ice Cap Zone, which is based off a song by the Jetsons called Hard Times. And then, of course, the credits, which is supposed to be the basis for Stranger in Moscow. And a lot of these songs were before those songs were actually written and like composed and released on an album. So like you hear them and it's like that's like the demo for these songs, which is kind of nuts to hear. Where it's like Stranger in Moscow, which is one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs. Is like the demo is that Sonic thing. He says it multiple times, and
Right.
I just think it's another example of Sega taking a pop artist and putting him on to work music and working wonders. And those songs are, I mean, they're probably iconic because it's Michael Jackson, aka Brad Buxter. But like the idea is that Sega always had that influence like with that sort of Michael Jackson sound, especially with stuff with Sonic CD, and of course Sonic 3. It's like that themes, and they completed with Sonic 3 bringing Michael and Brad on, mostly Brad, where like that's why I kind of give credit more towards Sonic that had 3 success, so that music being from Brad's contribution, not really Michael. And I mean, Brad was done
Michael
dirty,
Jackson music, though. Michael Jackson music was Brad Buxer music, right?
Pretty
Since
much,
he
yeah,
wrote
one-to-one.
like most of the melodies. He produced a lot of those tracks, that we all
Yeah.
love. Michael, of course, added lyrics to them and awesome
lyric and
singing and
vocals,
dancing
yeah.
and stuff. But I mean, like at the core, like you're listening to Brad Buxer music, So that's the thing. He really was incredible on the keys, and he could compose a good song, like a good memorable song. So that's why it's always funny. It's like a chicken or egg kind of thing when people say like, who did it? Michael Jackson? But like Brad Buxer writes a lot of Michael Jackson's music. So if you like Michael Jackson music, you like Brad Buxer music, because that's who you're listening to.
And I think that's
yeah.
a lot of Michael's, where it's like if you like Michael, you like Sugarfoot, you like Brad Buxer,
Right.
you like Quincy Jones, you like everyone that's worked on these things. It's like Steely Dan almost, like it's except to a different level, where Steely Dan is, you like Michael McDonald, you like was it Percy? I forget what his name with the Percy Shuffle. What's his name?
Bernard Purdy, the Purdy Shuffle.
Bernard Purdy. You like all these artists that work with these people, like Michael. It's like you don't just like Michael Jackson. You like these people. It's like, and a lot of it, and like that goes back a lot of times, especially with Miles Davis. And I don't want to get in the weeds here with that, but I guess the point I'm getting at is that I do agree with you, Dave, is that you're a fan of these artists, and I think that Brad, for the most part, brought that spirit to Sonic 3, and I think that he Sega took that concept, and why I think it's so successful, taking those the pop music artists, and dial it to 11, and getting Michael Jackson and Brad to work on it, and just making the soundtrack. And of course, there's everyone else that worked on the soundtrack, but it's like, I guess the idea is that they got these pop people to go and work on the soundtracks, and it's like, this is the reason why Sega was so successful. They worked with these artists and these people to get the soundtrack to be 10 out of 10, and I think that's what really reflects, and why I think Sega has just an amazing composer and musical library, and their music is second to none in video game composing.
Yeah, you're spot on there, Pat. They were dialed in to what it needed to sound like. I think they knew the sound that they wanted, and there was almost a synergy between the games. It's quite just picking up on that point you're talking about Michael Jackson, might be going off on a tangent here, but yeah, about if you're a fan of Michael Jackson music, it is you fan of Quincy Jones and Brad Buxer and stuff. I was
Right.
actually watching. I think it came out last year, but The Greatest Night in Pop. I don't know if either of you have seen that on Netflix about how they recorded "We Are the World." And
Oh, I love that one.
Yes.
yeah, it's
That was a great
fantastic.
one.
And I think Lionel
Love me
Richie's
some
in there.
Lionel.
Yeah, he was in there saying that because Michael didn't play any instruments, everything that he was doing in kind of in terms of formulating the melody and stuff, he did through humming and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wonder if he had any input on the Sonic 3 stuff and named it and started humming that to bring that alive, or maybe if it was all just 100% Brad, probably all 100%
You're
Brad.
you're on,
I mean,
you're
it's
on the money
awesome.
though. I think he did confirm that Michael did hum melodies and like send recordings. I forgot what the other composer on Sonic 3 mentioned that he would send over demos and like recording or phone things that he'd do like a melody. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of that came out like especially with the Knuckles theme, the boom 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 boom. Like I
Yeah.
think a lot of that and a lot of those boom to psh things came out of Michael Jackson as well. So I don't want to discredit Mike, but I think you are
Yeah.
on the money on
Like
that
he had
exactly
the
100%.
he would have the idea and he would say like, Brad, put do this on the keys, right, and let's punch it up a little bit and stuff like that. But no, like, I mean, so I don't mean to take credit away from Michael Jackson either by saying that it's Brad Buxer music. It is like a lot of it is Michael's ideas, and you're right, he would like hum and he would like beatbox a little bit and stuff like that and show you like what he wanted it to be. But then he had like this really brilliant keyboardist, who could basically make it happen, and would produce the track a bit more too. And Quincy Jones, of course, on a lot of those albums, just that's the sound, that is the sound. And he had a female guitarist, I forget her name.
She was the one
remember.
in the
Jennifer
in the This
Batten.
Is It,
Yeah,
right?
Jennifer Batten, and
Oh,
she
yeah.
did, solo on, Thriller and stuff like that, and all that other stuff. So those were the sounds that. But yeah, absolutely. I think that Sega, they, just like bringing in, just like they would bring in, Joe Montana and stuff to sell, sports games and stuff like that, bringing in celebrities. They were big on celebrities with the music too, because they knew that it would make it better,
They
both
knew
on
they,
both
they
in
knew it was
Japan
hot.
and in the West.
Yeah, they knew what was hot. I think, Nintendo were happy being Nintendo, and Sega were kind of dialed into pop culture. So that was that was cool. And yeah, I think that's a great shout, Pat. Just because the tunes are so good, and because it just represents Sega, just dialed into that vein, that pop culture vein. It's a real shame that if anyone's only ever played something like Sonic Origins Collection, they wouldn't know what tunes you're talking about.
Exactly.
'Cause they're
Yeah.
taken out. It's a tragedy. You would have hoped that Sega could have done something with those tunes, get some sort of
Right.
agreement.
I'm just
and
glad
use them in
that Sega
Bucks
actually acknowledges it and gives them credit where credit's due for Brad and Michael, because I know that was a big one. But now Brad's actually come out and actually talked about it publicly, and like they had the whole Pop Fiction thing by GT when they're still around doing that whole analysis of it, and a lot of people did agree. And I think what came down to it is that I think maybe Michael lost interest. Like there never really a definitive reason why he wasn't credited and stuff, but I think it really came down to like with all the evidence that Michael just didn't like the sound of it and didn't want to compose something that took away from his like nothing that's optimal, because he's a perfectionist. I mean look, Invincible, what would cost like millions of dollars to make for that album. Like he's a perfectionist in nature in so many years, so it's like if it ain't perfect, it ain't Mike. And like the other Michael Jordan, it's like it has to be perfect. And I think at the end of the day, that's the way it was with that. But I am thankful that it's come out and everyone's got the credit where credit is due,
Yeah,
and we can finally, hang one over of Nintendo, being like, oh yeah, you
Right.
got all that, but we got Michael and
We got Michael
yeah,
Jackson.
you might got Toby Fox, but we got Michael and Michael and Brad. So and then he always came back for Space Channel 5 as well and stuff. It's always
did,
funny
yeah.
when Michael's like, all right, I'm out. I'm actually back in. Let's do Simulator. All right, I'm out. Okay, let's do Ready to Rumble. All right, I'm out. Let's do oh, never mind. Let's do Space Channel 5. And it just like I think Michael Jackson and Sega is just the perfect combination, like peanut butter and chocolate. Like it's the most iconic duo, and I think that both of them raised up each of one of their career and their notoriety just by doing that. So I'm very happy that they had that connection.
Yeah, it's just a shame we had Michael Jackson on the Master System, Michael Jackson on the Mega Drive, and we had 2 Michael Jackson games on the Dreamcast with Ready to Rumble and Space Channel 5. We just didn't get one on the Saturn, which is a shame.
Didn't get one on the Saturn. Well, we got Sonic Jam.
We got Ronnie Montrose.
We did.
This is true. We
got Ronnie Montrose is one thing. That'll be another one. I'm not going to bring that up right now.
Your favorite game, Pat?
Hey, I'll give Sega this. Ronnie Montrose, one of the best guitarists ever, and put Sammy Hagar on the map. So I can't thank him enough for that. So, but I'll let James. What about you, James? What composer?
What's your
for you,
first?
James?
So,
Dan.
Just
shoot me right now, Dave. Just shoot me between my eyes.
That's right, James. You're listening to this,
James.
No, but...
What about you? What about you, Dan? What would you say is one of your favorite composers, or somebody that you think rang Sega up by a ton and gave them the reputation of having such an amazing soundtrack for all their consoles?
Yeah, so I'm going to mention someone whose name might not be familiar to a lot of people. But people have definitely heard his music, and we've already talked about it already. So, Hiroshi Kawaguchi, have you to recognize?
That sounds familiar.
So
Kawaguchi, Outrun, and Space Harrier, right?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
so,
absolutely. Okay, now I'm hearing it.
Early on, Space Harrier, Outrun, just on the strength of those alone, it's almost legendary. So you've got Space Harrier, that theme that you get for certain instances. It's one big track, like the main theme, that plays almost all the way through the game, apart from kind of certain levels, bonus levels.
Get ready. Yeah. I mean, that game is like, I have so many fond memories of that game. It's incredible.
Welcome to the fancy zone. Get ready.
Minor, that's minor key in it, but yeah. It's so great.
It's so great. Just that alone. But then he goes into Outrun. He does that soundtrack. He does Power Drift, which is Power Drift soundtrack. Power Drift, absolutely phenomenal. Yeah,
phenomenal.
Was it
People need to play that game.
Like, is it like the Wind? We Are the Wind or something? But that tune is just so good. But the whole soundtrack to Power Drift is amazing. And he's
what else did he do?
He did Power Drift. He obviously did Outrun 2. He worked on things like Phantasy Star, G-Log, Afterburner. He did Afterburner as well.
Oh, nice, G-Log.
So he did things like Enduro Racer. Did a few Master System games, and then his work takes him all the way up to the modern day. So he's in varying degrees. He's been involved with the Yakuza games, done some of the soundtracks for those. And again, I mentioned it already, Virtua Fighter 5 Revo, he did the new soundtrack to that. One of my favorite tunes on that, or probably my favorite tune on the new Virtua Fighter 5 soundtrack, is Shun-Di's stage. It's kind of like this high tempo. It really harkens back to that Virtua Fighter 2 sound, which is kind of like a fusion between kind of electronica and like traditional like Eastern music, and it's amazing. And I think he just recently retired, and he still does a few things. The interesting thing about him, I think, is he actually originally came to Sega as a programmer. You look at his early credits, and he's just a programmer, and I'd say just a programmer. He's a programmer on certain games, but he always had he came in to learn more about electronic music and composing. Right. And I think when he did Space Harrier, that's when he found his happy place, and from there it's just pretty much most of Sega's most iconic stuff from the 80s is that guy. And then he's also had a hand in a lot of stuff since, not quite as high profile, so to speak, but he's been around forever. I think his music credits are absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, he's definitely. I mean, are you guys familiar with any other of his work, or what are your thoughts on him?
Those were the game. Oh, go ahead, Pat. Sorry.
I was gonna say that that I'm not too familiar with a lot. I'm familiar with the games he's done, but he's done a lot of like assisting on stuff that I've definitely heard, like the Star Wars arcade game, like Virtua Fighter 3, Rent a Hero, stuff like that, Sega Rally, Initial D Arcade. Like there's just a lot of stuff he's worked on, and it's like, I mean, I'm not as familiar with him as a composer, listening to too much of his stuff, but I do like love Outrun, love Fantasy Zone, love Space Harrier, Hang On, and stuff like that. It's I don't know the details of them, but I love those soundtracks, and I think they're really big bangers. And like, I mean, dang, he's also a DJ, so that's also really cool.
Yeah.
It should be said, I feel like it should be said that so a lot of the games we love that have amazing soundtracks were a lot of them were done like either by internal Sega teams or like away teams, but like a lot of rotating staff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you'll notice that you have a composer on one game, like you have a dude who's like a programmer or he does sound effects over here, but he got his chance to shine on one game and they made him composer. And then you have a lot of other names that you recognize also working on sound on that same game. Just not, maybe they're doing arrangements, or maybe they are doing sound effects, or maybe it's a game like Knights where it's really complicated. There's a lot of people, and there's sometimes it's like they take writing duties because there's so many songs on a game that some people write different songs on the game, There's that too. So I'll notice that when I'm looking at like Sega Retro, I'm like, well, like, wow, there is a roster of people on this one game, that worked on this one game. But so some of the people on my list, I have them actually grouped in in like a little group because they all kind of worked on the same games together. But yeah, so that's just something I noticed, and I don't know if it's the same with Nintendo, but definitely with Sega, it's everybody knows each other. It's a small world, and you got a lot of these names. A lot of these people probably worked with each other at one point in time.
Yeah, if it was sometimes I just envision it as this kind of chaotic bullpen of an office. Just
right,
you've got all these people working on different projects, but everyone's so intertwined. You look at stuff like Space Harrier, and then that was one thing, but then a lot of people from that team were involved in kind of the Master System port, were involved in other games, and they all, it's like you say, they all rotate, they switch places, and I think there was a lot of collaboration in that respect going on between all these different
great
projects.
For inspiration, because when you have that much talent in working in a company, it's like you see one guy's stuff and you're like, oh, well, I could one up that, or like I need to work harder because that is amazing, so yeah, I feel like Sega had so much talent at their fingertips, and just these people were able to inspire each other and work together and create some amazing stuff. So yeah, Hiroshi Kawaguchi, excellent call out. Absolutely, Outrun and Space Harrier alone, like those two games are just like god tier in terms of like music and just memorability,
Yeah, and Afterburner's up there for me as well. That and
did he do Afterburner too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. So incredible.
Yeah, I think he actually started with Hang On, the original Hang On. So he didn't do Super Hang On. I don't think he did anyway.
Right.
Where you select the tunes from there. So I don't think he did that, but he did the original, like the soundtrack to that. I think obviously that predates Space Harrier. But Space Harrier was, his arrival. I think, as good as those Hang On tracks are. It's just, as I keep saying it, that Space Harrier, so that tune is just legendary to me. There's just pure genius. But yeah, he's like a cornerstone of Sega. I think, he's been there for 40 years, and the amount of stuff that he's done is incredible. I think it's one of these things as well. I think we mentioned earlier about Nintendo not giving credit to a lot of people. I think when you look back in the 80s, there was this, people would put their names in kind of code because people were scared. The developers and publishers, companies were scared of people getting poached for their skills. So like a lot of Hiroshi's credits are just like Yu Suzuki just gets Yu, doesn't he? And Hiroshi was just Hiro on the credits when they're all truncated or they go through aliases on the credit screen. So yeah, so it might be another reason why I think he might not be on some people's radar, but if you're a Sega fan, I think people have definitely listened to his music. So Dave, we'll come back round to you and back round to your list of composers. Who have you got next?
Okay, well, so I don't have these in any order. I'm picking them out as I get, like they're just it's a bunch of names. There are like 3 or 4 big names. I could pick any one of them. I could throw a dart, you know. They all deserve such high praise. And if I don't pick, you guys are going to pick one inevitably, and that'll be fine. You know, that'll be great because we can talk. But who do I pick? I think I have to go with, to me, the king of the arcade, Mr. Takanobu Mitsuyoshi. Yeah, I have to go with him. And I mean, again, there are so many other great names on this list, but we got Takanobu Mitsuyoshi with games like Outrunners, and of course, Virtua Racing, Daytona USA, Manx TT, Sega Rally, Virtua Striker. Not just that, but I mean, his personality is larger than life. He's a multi-musician, like multi-instrumentalist. He sings. He even does a pretty good English accent, you know, as a 14, 15-year-old or whatever. I actually didn't know that at that time, you know, like my worldview was not so large that I realized like that it wasn't just a Japanese dude singing in English. I thought the guy that was singing, you know, I wanna fly sky high. I was like, he's just got a speech impediment or something.
Chose the wrong time to drink water there.
Yeah, no, I did not connect the dots and realize, oh yeah, no, of course it's a Japanese game, Japanese student, you know, just a Japanese dude singing in English. But I mean, I absolutely love the Daytona soundtrack. It is my youth, you know, Blue Skies and
I mean, it's just so iconic. I mean,
yeah,
like it's just amazing music, and also worked on Sega Rally. So I mean, it's just
and
amazing.
I mean, like Virtua Racing even before it, you know, like the Virtua Racing soundtrack is absolutely killer, you know. You know, like it's so badass, you know, that everything he does is just so good, you know. So, and I mean, he's gone into the studio and like re-recorded his stuff, you know, on camera, and he's just, like I said, larger than life when it comes to almost any Sega composer. I kind of feel like he really like carries the banner of Sega, you know, and just like the personality of Sega, just being just so full of personality and life, you know. So that's Takanobu Mitsuyoshi. Oh, and I have to shout our bro Panda. Pandemonium reviews every US Sega Saturn game. He recently got Mitsuyoshi-san on an interview for his channel, so folks should check that out because he talks all about like his early career and like how he got a job at Sega and everything, you know. So it's very, very good.
Yeah, no, it's
and he even did like Nintendo stuff as well. Like he did that F-Zero medley on Smash Brothers.
It's true.
Yeah.
I didn't even list off everything that he's done, and he's done a ton of stuff for non-Sega games too, you know. So he's very prolific. But of course, you know, like some of these, looking at this list of games that he did do for Sega, it's all arcade stuff. You know, it's all. He was such a big part of like the arcade. He also did lyrics on Burning Rangers as well, you know. Another great soundtrack. But I mean, yeah, so any thoughts on Takanobu Mitsuyoshi?
Oh, I mean, where'd you begin? He's just
right?
he's just a legend. I think he is the sound of the Saturn for me. You know, my introduction was Daytona USA, which, as you say, he re-recorded that. You know, it's an improved soundtrack over the arcade.
It is. It's incredible. Yeah, the Saturn version is the way to go. Like, arcade's good, but and that's another thing is in the arcade it's so loud, the atmosphere is so loud and stuff like that. I don't think I noticed the music as much in the arcade, like playing it. And then on the Saturn, it's like it's a really big part of the game is the music and just how good it is. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. But I think it works in the arcade because it gets your attention, doesn't it? I think the only thing I don't remember hearing the tracks in the arcade. I don't remember when I was sitting in the cockpit that I could hear like 3-7 Speedway, King of Speed playing or Sky High. I didn't really notice them. But I did hear the attract mode, and that's kind of what it was doing its job then, wasn't it? Because you know, even if you didn't see this giant cab with 4 or 8 seats all linked up, you could hear Daytona.
Yeah. He really loved like the drums and like the tom fills.
Yeah.
I swear, talking to him like he's in there. I'm thinking like on the keyboard, like going. But he loves tom fills. Even on Virtua Racing, there was this one track. The. It was like a Tom Phil, crazy Tom Phil. I'm like, he was a drummer in another life,
Yeah.
He just like gets on the drums and just wants to go ham,
Yeah.
But yeah, like you're absolutely right. But I mean, like again, like all of the stuff that he does really is arcade focused. Like that's mostly his pedigree is like.
And he still
Sega
does
arcade.
it. Like he even did a song for like the Initial D arcade machine recently.
Good call out. Yeah, Initial D arcade. He's done a lot of that stuff. I think he did Special Stage. He did. I mean, if I looked him up right now, I'm gonna find a laundry list of stuff too. So,
but yeah, he's just all over the place.
He did Virtua Fighter Revo. He did the title track just for that, which only came out this year. So he's still and there's promo videos of him in the studio recording it, and it's just amazing. It's I'm trying to remember how it goes now. He's like, no matter who you are.
Yes,
it's so good. He's just
nice.
It's just amazing. But yeah,
we don't want to get copyright strikes, so we have to hum these things, right?
Yeah.
Not with my voice.
We already did that for Jet Set Radio on.
No, I'm saying like we
SHIRO
can't
channel.
play clips of these on the show, but we got to give people some texture here, so we have to sing them instead. But yeah, no, that's incredible. I'm looking up some of the other stuff he's done, but yeah.
What is there really to say that's not been said a million times about him? I know it's a cliche line, but like he's just so good. All the stuff he touches, the entire Daytona USA soundtrack, I can listen to backwards and forwards, like and repeat. It's just so good. Like I wasn't even a fan of that game, and it's still one of my favorite soundtracks of all time of a video game. It's just so good. Like it's just so good.
Yeah, and that's for me that was kind of one of the first games I played on the Sega Saturn, and they got Burning Rangers, one of the last retail Western releases, and he's got his fingerprints all over that. Obviously, the soundtrack was kind of redubbed in the Western version, but he just kind of carried. He seemed ever present on the Saturn, probably because it was the first real CD-based the first CD console I owned, and because it was Sega's focus at the time, it was good enough to carry Taka's voice in it. So so we got familiar with it that way. But he's as much as we talk about Hiroshi, he's Takanobu is up there as well. I mean, having both of those on the Sega roster, unbelievable, right?
Yeah. I keep thinking about like Blue Skies is probably my favorite track of his. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm just saying like it's probably my favorite just for nostalgic reasons. Blue skies. And then it goes ba da 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 da. And it goes into like this whole like progressive rock kind of like almost like Afro-Cuban rhythm kind of thing. Da 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 da. Yeah. Da 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 da.
I have to go a Fly Sky. I have to do the I forgot what the song was. It was is that Blue Sky? That's Blue Sky still, right?
Yeah, that's Blue Sky.
Yeah, that one definitely. That one or just the Daytona soundtrack. The theme is really good.
Well, I mean, that song starts off with like a really cool bass line too, like do. It starts off with this like really cool bass line, and just the whole thing is just so many textures, so many sounds. He just such a brilliant composer. I can't give him enough credit.
And as you say, with his personality, everyone's seen that video of him, singing.
I think that's it too. He's just like happy all the time. He's just got such a like brimming with positivity kind of attitude. I mean, he was so kind to give his time to Nick for that interview, and he's just like he's very personable. So I feel like that's in that way he kind of becomes one of the faces of Sega. One of the official like ambassadors of Sega. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then it's stuff like Daytona 2. I think is a bit of a slept on soundtrack, but that's another great one, I think, as well. It's another great soundtrack. But yeah, we could probably do a whole podcast talking about Takanobu Misayoshi. I think. I mean,
we could. We honestly could. Yeah. I mean, with that roster of games, and I mean Sega Rally, we didn't really talk about that much, but yeah, that's another great soundtrack.
It is.
Okay, Pat, you're it's Pat's turn, right?
Yeah, it's back to you, Pat.
Who are you gonna pick? Spin the globe.
So technically, there's two people that worked on this album, but the thing is, I want you to hit the other composer, Dave, because I know you like this composer a lot.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to go with, even though he's only done a little bit of Sega, I think his influence on what Sega was and the influence of that era was just so revolutionary that it doesn't matter. It's only like he only worked on a handful. It was just a massive influence, and that would be Hideki Naganuma.
Oh yes,
yeah.
That was one of my lists as well, Pat. What a great shout! Yeah,
Radio.
I mean, Jet Set Radio honestly carried the Dreamcast so hard, that soundtrack. Like it's one of the reasons why he somehow tapped into the culture of America back then, and the hip hop and all the drum and bass stuff and the sampling and DJing in that era, like stuff like Moby and stuff like that, you know, that was going big. And he tapped into that and put it into Jet Set Radio, and oh my god, that game has probably one of the best soundtracks of all time.
I don't think that's probably about it.
I mean, it's a game where music is just so much a part of it. You know, like that, you wouldn't have, half the game would be missing if you didn't have the music, you know? And
exactly.
It's you know, dance, skating, tagging, you know, and it's all to this like amazing soundtrack, you know?
It's
what's the radio station called?
Isn't it just like Jet Set Radio?
Jet Set Radio.
The pirate radio station? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the pirate radio station. I think it's just Jet Set Radio is the name of it.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, like just the thematic tying it into the game itself, it's just amazing, and like just all the sampling he did with it. And then there's another composer on there that's one of your favorites that I imagine you probably want to talk about next, Richard Jakes, that also did a bunch of stuff for that as well. And like that combination right there is just a match in heaven, because I know how much you love Jakes, and you know how much I love a lot of what Jakes did, and it just, what Jet Set Radio did for Sega just revolutionized it. And I think stuff like Let Mom Sleep would just, you know, just be ingrained in everyone's mind for the rest of their life, just how good that is, and just the revolutions, all the sampling of it.
He also did Sonic Rush, which was it's a slept-on game. Sonic Rush was really good, and Yakuza 5.
Yeah, and of course the Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is the spiritual successor. And I hope they bring him back for the new Jet Set Radio as well that's coming out, because
he needs to be
that game. That game
has to
needs, be. It needs to be. It's like doing a Sonic game without, you know.
Otherwise, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk will be the better game, like officially.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's already like I wonder, you know, but because they have a lot to live up to. Like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk hit it out of the park so hard. I'm just like, I hope that Sega can defend their own title.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, I do think, to me, he is one of my favorite composers with Sega, and I think to me he just made the Dreamcast what it was. I mean, how do you guys feel about him? Is there anything that you liked about him that maybe I didn't bring up or something, or there's some how you felt about his music and how you heard it?
Yeah, I mean, when I first played Jet Set Radio, I actually played the Japanese version of Jet Set Radio, where it is just Hideki Naganuma. I think Richard Jakes' input was added for the Western release.
Yeah.
Right. But when I first played it, it was just kind of like, it's like nothing else I'd heard on a console. Obviously, you'd had games with licensed soundtracks and stuff. You had things like, I think I'd seen Tony Hawk on the PlayStation at that point. But the way that this was kind of fresh. It was like a refreshing kind of taste of what music could be on a video game. The way that it used samples was something I hadn't really seen before in a game. The way you can hear, I'm sure you can hear a bit of Flavor Flav in there. You can hear all sorts of things that you can pick up on, but it's just used so well. And you've got like Let Mum Sleep as well in there, which uses so many samples. But then it goes in all sorts of different places, doesn't it? Because then you've got stuff like he did Grace and Glory, which is the final boss thing, which is completely different, which is more like a traditional video game theme. You got your hip hop, your dance, your electronica in there, and then the Jet Set Radio stuff in there. Again, absolutely phenomenal.
I mean, but yeah, it was 20 years ahead of. It's like it was 15 years ahead of Nintendo. When they did that, there was Splatoon. That was 2015. It's like
yeah.
It's like it took them 15 years to get, oh, hey, cool aesthetic hip hop and, cool sampling. It's like, well, you missed it by 15 years, buddy. It's called Jet Set Radio. And it's like, it just shows again, Sega is ahead of the curve in every way. And it's just a shame that it never clicked on because, like, man, Jet Set Radio is probably up there as one of my favorite games. Just the fact that the aesthetic is just amazing in that game, and it really tapped into it. Like, it took what Tony Hawk did, bringing the skater and hip hop thing, just took that to 11.
Yeah.
And like, if I had to pick one of those, it's like, yeah, I guess technically Jet Set was probably influenced a little bit by Tony Hawk, but like, Jet Set's just so different, then it's hard to say that it ripped off at all Tony Hawk. Anything, it took what Tony Hawk did, it made it way better.
Yeah. But I think his Sonic Rush stuff definitely needs a shout out because that soundtrack, like you said, David, slept on, and that soundtrack is fantastic. Like,
if folks have a DS, they need to play that game just as it is. It's so good. Sonic Rush on the DS, but I mean the soundtrack is amazing too. And I mean the DS, it's got it's a little crunchy, in terms of like its sound output and stuff. But you can wear headphones. It sounds really, really good, and I gotta say, like, that's a great Sonic game that if you've slept on it, go play Sonic Rush.
I actually slept on. I actually legit slept on it. I kind of want to hear the soundtrack now.
Yeah, wait the hell up, Pat. Go on. I think my favorite tunes on there. I think is it the first one? It's Right Here, Right On. And then. But
that's what that's from. I thought that was from something else.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that song. I love that song.
Yeah, and What You Need. From the kind of the Water Palace one. You don't stop, you proceed, but this is what you need.
And even the boss,
classic.
Fight music is great. Like, the whole soundtrack is great, and the game is great. I just don't ever hear a lot of people talking about Sonic Rush, because it's just if you didn't have a DS, was it released on any other platforms?
I don't think.
I think some of the songs were made in the Smash. I think Right Here, Right On is in Smash, but I could be wrong.
Right.
Maybe in one of them.
Definitely. There's also a second one.
Sonic Rush Adventure. Unfortunately,
Sonic Rush Adventure, not as good, I don't think. Like, no, it's good, but the original one,
the 360 one, like the Sonic Rush Gravity or whatever.
Sonic Rush.
Am I thinking of another one? That's the racing one, right? With
Zero Gravity. Oh, that's
Zero Gravity.
That's Sonic Riders. Sonic Riders Zero.
Oh, Riders. Sorry, I get those two mixed up. My bad.
Yes, Rush is the 2D, 2.5D side-on classic style.
Yeah,
Sonic
and
game.
It uses both screens. So you go like on these loops, the top screen and down to the bottom, and it's really cool. Like, it uses the DS hardware in a really good way.
I'll have to try that then.
Yeah, it's good.
Do yourself a favor, you'll love it. Yeah. You've got to love it.
don't play Riders though.
Riders is kind of balls.
Well, no, actually, Riders and Zero Gravity are good. I think. No, I was getting mixed up then. I was thinking you were talking about the Kinect Sonic Riders, which isn't so good. So
that one's kind of bad.
Yeah. So what about Yakuza 5? Like, how big was his role there?
I think I'm not sure. I think as far as I can see, he's only got one kind of credit on there. For Yakuza 5.
It could have been like for one of the mini games or something, or like a thing that I know they get a lot of
maybe it wasn't a huge role. Okay.
Like to do like little things because they do a lot of songs like the arcade games in Yakuza. They have the the karaoke stuff. So,
I mean, I guess you were right, Pat. He's only done a couple Sega things, but the things that he has contributed are really big. They're really, really good call outs. So, good one.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to talk about Richard Jakes next. Like, he is on my list.
I assume you're bringing him up eventually. I know you really like him.
Well, if you guys don't, I will.
Yeah.
I figure that you're the right man to talk about him since you're a big fan of it. So I want to say that for you if you want to talk about it.
Unless Dan wants to.
He's on my list, but
Okay,
it's
good.
back to me
We'll end
next.
up.
But I'm going to go with someone else next. Who, as I say, this guy was listed as a non-Sega composer, which is
Really?
interesting. Yes, but he is definitely 100% a Sega composer, or at least he was, and that is
Okay.
none other than the legendary Yuzo Koshiro.
Yes.
Oh,
I knew
absolutely.
you were gonna say that when you. Yeah. Good clue.
Yuzo Koshiro, like
Yuzo Koshiro.
the stuff that he did on Streets of Rage. Oh my
So,
gosh.
Shouldn't it be said that not even just Sega, like this is one of the greatest game composers of all time.
Yeah,
Like Yuzo Koshiro is one of the greatest game composers of all time. And I mean, of course,
That's
Sega.
without doubt.
I don't know what list you were looking at that he said he wasn't a Sega composer.
it's actually on Sega Retro. Maybe it's because he's kind of Ancient have always had this kind of odd relationship with Sega, haven't they? They're kind of in house, but they aren't really. I mean, he's made songs for like PlayStation games and stuff. You know, during the Saturn era, there was like Ancient games made for other platforms, and obviously post that he's been, you know, Ancient have been off doing their own thing for various. You know, they've got the is it Atrium Odyssey on the DS?
I mean, he did it. The Etrian, he did some Etrian games. He did
Namco versus Capcom.
Wangan Midnight Maximum Tune. He did,
Half-Minute
but
Hero.
he's also done. Of course, we have to talk
Dragon
about
Ball
Streets
Online.
of
Holy
Rage.
shit.
Yeah,
And Streets of Rage, East, Revenge of Shinobi. I guess East wasn't technically a, Sega, but I mean, it was on Sega consoles. So,
yeah.
yeah.
But I think
Go for
Sega
it,
did that
Dan.
well.
I don't want. Yeah, you go for it.
But you know, I mean, my first exposure to Yuzo Koshiro was the Sonic the Hedgehog port on the Sega Master System, which you know, taking it back full circle, you know, he took the Sonic 1 Genesis or Mega Drive songs and adapted 3 or 4 of them, but then made his own ones, and it's his own work that really stands out on that. And especially, you know, you've got the Bridge Zone, and was the one that was famously sampled by Janet Jackson. So you've got that work, and then from there going into Streets of Rage, which the original Streets of Rage. We were talking to Sega Lord X recently, and we were talking about we touched on this kind of soundtracks for Streets of Rage, and there's just something about that original Streets of Rage that's just so special. You know, just the sound he got. And then Streets of Rage 2 is a slightly different direction, less gritty but more refined, lots more dance influenced, an absolutely phenomenal soundtrack.
Very high production.
Yeah. He did stuff like Batman Returns on the 8-bit consoles. Again, his 8-bit stuff is really good as well. And I mean, his 16-bit stuff is really famous, but his 8-bit stuff is phenomenal as well. And then you've got stuff like Story of 4 and Story of 4 2.
Beyond Oasis.
Yeah, Beyond Oasis. Yes.
Beyond. You guys call it Story of Thor. That's right.
Yeah. What's the sequel called on Sega?
Legend of Oasis.
Legend of Oasis.
It's Beyond Oasis and Legend of Oasis. But yeah, in the UK, it's Story of Thor and Story of Thor 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did the soundtracks for those, which are different again. Just shows that he's got that range. You know, he does. He's got like the
even
gritty...
the Castlevania game, Portrait of Ruin, which is pretty bomb soundtrack.
So yeah, I mean that he had a hand in stuff later on, like Shamu 2 and stuff. But yeah, it's really his 8 and 16-bit stuff. You know, that's legendary. And of course, he came back for Streets of Rage 4 on. You know, he did a few tracks for that as well, which Streets of Rage 4 is... Sega didn't handle that themselves, but it's good to have him back in a Sega property. I'm hoping that he's there for the new game. It'd be a shame if he's not, but I know he's been busy with Earthium at the moment. That he's working.
Earthium, yeah.
Which,
did you call out Revenge of Shinobi? Did you say that?
I didn't actually. I was talking about my journey with Sonic the Hedgehog, but Revenge of Shinobi. Right, okay. Yeah, I omitted that for some reason, but that's a phenomenal soundtrack as well, isn't it?
Oh my god, I love that soundtrack. So killer. Yeah, his a lot of his music, I would say, is kind of aggressive. Like I mean, if I had to characterize it some way, I would say like even if it's like dance or something like that, it's pumping. You know, it's aggressive. It's like it's very fitting for like action games and stuff like that. Beyond Oasis and Legend of Oasis or Story of Thor are like those exceptions where, like you said, he has a lot of range and you can see like, wow, this is when I learned that he had done those games, and it was a while back, but that he had done the soundtrack to Beyond Oasis, I was like, well, no wonder it's so good, like because I like it, But
Right.
I had no idea because it wasn't like it didn't sound like Yuzo Koshiro to me, like what I think of with his stuff on the Genesis, And it had a lot more range, and it could just be like he was working with a bigger canvas with the Saturn. But I mean, beyond, like you said, Beyond Oasis was on the Genesis. Those two soundtracks were very different, and it could just be partially the hardware that they were working on, that he was working on, but also just the amount of range that he has, and he probably continue to grow along the way. Wangan Midnight Maximum Tune is honestly a really awesome game, and it has a great soundtrack. It's probably one that maybe not as many people, have played or heard of, but again, banging tunes by Yuzo Koshiro, and pretty much everything he touches, it's going to be good.
Yeah. Any other thoughts of yourself, Pat, on Yuzo?
I mean, there's not really. There's just so much. I mean, like I said, it's another one that we need to do a podcast on. But I mean, the Streets of Rage soundtracks, I mean, alone, like 1 and 2 are amazing. 3 is just so way out there that it's like, I think it's one of my favorites just because how bold it is. It's like so different. He's just like switching it up compared to 1 and 2. It's like, oh my god, like that soundtrack.
What's your favorite track?
Perfecto.
If you had to name like a favorite track of his, Dan, what would or Pat, what would your favorite Yuzo Koshiro track be?
From any game?
That's a hard. Yeah, any game. Like
it should be hard,
question.
but it always comes back to Moon Beach, the original Streets of Rage. Just the sound. The way that it's almost perfect, and it sounds like it's a kind of a gritty version of something that like Miami Sound Machine did. It's got that vibe to it. I just absolutely adore it. It's one of my. It's not just one of my favorite backtracks from Yuzo Koshiro. It's one of my favorite Sega tracks ever.
Right.
I absolutely adore it. But
Do you have that on vinyl?
I don't. It's one that I really need to get on vinyl with the Streets of Rage soundtrack. I absolutely need to get it. What about you guys?
Pat?
For me, so I know he did a lot of the Shenmue stuff, but I don't know exactly which tracks he did on Shenmue. But like the things that if I knew, I would pick that, but probably something on Shenmue, maybe the theme of it or something like that just is really good. But if I had to pick one I know he did, would have to be Go Straight from Streets of Rage 2. Like, it's just so iconic, so good, and it just sets the tone of an amazing game. So,
I mean,
if
just
I had
the
to pick
character
one,
select too is like,
yeah. But yeah,
great choice.
Go Straight, absolutely one of that, and just like that entire soundtrack. Well, and while I do love
I'll take the bar scene. I think is it just called the bar? What's that track?
I think it is just called the bar.
Down.
Yeah, there's just so much good stuff he did. So it's so hard.
It get like layers on all these little so good. I didn't always love that track, but it just grew on me. And at one point, I was playing it with my son. We're doing friendly fire and everything like that, as we do. Pretending like, oh, it was an accident. And
I do the same thing. I just go over and stab one of my friends with the knife and walk away.
At one point, my son and I just discovered that it was more fun just beating the hell out of each other. Doing knee to the head, but honestly, yeah, that track grew on both of us, and my son was like humming it. He's like, I like this track. I was like, I think I do too. I think this is my new favorite track. I like Dreamer. I like a lot of all of his tracks are great, but again, I think I come back to that bar scene if I had to choose. But they're all good.
It's definitely grown on me, and I'll tell you something. I think when I was playing it, through the years or decades even, that one has always been one that I kind of slept on a bit myself. It's like, okay, yeah, this is fine, but take me back to the heavy dance stuff, get me back. But as I've got older, I've really appreciated it more and more. It's an absolutely phenomenal.
It's jazzy. It's got like a good beat to it. It's just more low key, But there's a lot going on there. And again, same thing. Slept on it. Would not have put it in my top 5 like years ago, but it just grew on me. And I guess I don't know. And Sega Lord X, he's put it in his videos. He's included that track and. It's like every time I hear it, I'm like, yeah, that's such a good track, So sometimes game music does that to you. You love Green Hill Zone, but eventually you find that you've heard it so many times, and you end up kind of going for like maybe Starlight or something like that, because it's more, it's just you got to play the game to a certain point to even get there, and then you really appreciate it. I remember that about Starlight Zone. It was like. It as a kid, it was hard to get there. It was hard fought to get to the Starlight Zone, and then when I got there, the music was such a reward, because you felt like, wow, what a great new level to check out, and such great music that goes along with it. So,
Starlight is phenomenal, though. It's absolutely phenomenal, and it's your reward for getting through the labyrinth zone, which feels torturous at times.
It is such torture. Lucky for us that it's one of the best tracks on the soundtrack. Is that music? It's your turn.
Oh wait, I think it's back to you now.
Oh, Dave, you did Yuzo Koshiro.
I did Yuzo Koshiro. Okay. Now it's back around to you.
I just want to let you guys know real quick that I'm kind of fading a bit. I might have to hop off a little bit.
Is that right? Okay, all right.
We'll just do a couple more and then we'll.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got a lot more people.
We'll have to do a part 2.
we might have to. Okay, I'll go with the one that Pat already mentioned, Richard Jakes, because he can talk about it too. So Richard Jakes, British composer, absolute genius. Okay, like this guy. Also, I think I would put as like one of. First of all, he's incredibly prolific, and he doesn't just do games. Like he's done film, he's done a ton of stuff, right? Richard Jakes is just an absolute genius savant when it comes to music production and stuff like that. And I mean, he can do it any style, They'll be like, we want you to do a version of Shinobi X, and we want you to make it sound really, stereotypical Japanese ninja kind of thing. He comes out with like, the Shinobi X soundtrack is absolutely incredible, and it's arguably better than what they did for like the Japanese version. Albeit I will say the Japanese version has grown on me over the years, but I mean, Richard Jakes, it just knocked it out of the park. He's done games like Sonic R, of course, with TJ Davis on vocals, and Metropolis Street Racer, also with TJ Davis, same studio, but like different years. Sonic 3D Blast, of course, phenomenal soundtrack. Sonic 3D Blast. I've used that so many times, like for videos and stuff like that, because it's just so killer. Sonic Generations, Outrun 2, Jet Set Radio. He did work on Jet Set Radio, although, like you said, just for the Western release. And I mean, countless other games. I don't. You want to add anything? I can kick it over to you guys.
I mean, he is incredibly prolific, and one of my favorite soundtracks of his. I mean, he's done so many, like the Saturn version of Sonic 3D, absolutely incredible. But one of my favorites is the Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing Transformed one.
Yes.
The way that he just took all those classic Sega IPs and their themes and their most iconic tunes and just created these remixes, which gives you something incredibly consistent across the entirety of the game, but also just, it's like, and I know it's not his original work. His original work is fantastic and requires shouting out as well, but just the way that he adapted all that music, all that legendary stuff, and just created some astounding tunes. Like the Sonic one obviously is great when it kicks off, and it's got that blend of supersonic racing and the Sonic CD intro. It's got Toot Toot Sonic Warrior, the Japanese version, and it's got Supersonic Racing kind of blended together almost perfectly. And then you've got the Panzer Dragoon course, which has kind of this up-tempo version of the Panzer Dragoon soundtrack. You've even got like the Race for Ages at the end, which has the Space Harrier theme. There's just so much music in there that he did the whole soundtrack. You look through that, he basically did everything in there, and it's absolutely astounding what he did with that. And I just think it's an incredibly tall order to take a lot of legendary music and music from people that we talked about today and doing stuff like the Outrun themes, the Sonic themes, the Panzer themes. Jet Set Radio has a track in there, and being able to not only do all that, give all that soundtrack justice from all those different sources and all those different legendary tracks, but also do it in a way that suits the theme of the game and makes it all incredibly consistent, because all of those properties are across a wide range of genres that have a wide range of styles, and he's just a master at just taking that, you know. It just shows such incredible knowledge and talent to be able to break something down and then just make it brand new, I think.
And he's still doing a bunch of new stuff too. Like he just did the new Guardians of the Galaxy game that came out recently. Did some stuff.
He won an Ivor
Generations.
Novello. Yeah, the best original video game score for that, the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. He won the Ivor Novello award in 2022 for that.
And he's also did the legendary Little Big Planet series as well. There's just a lot of stuff he's worked on that's it's like amazing, and I'm really happy that he's, you know, out and about and doing all these things.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, Richard Jakes again. He seems to be saying it a lot, but he just feels like a legend and a cornerstone for Sega, I think.
Yeah. He also did Headhunter for the Dreamcast. That's another game that I don't know, like a lot of people probably haven't played. Didn't get a release in the United States, but
did it not?
Another great. Yeah, no, I don't believe Headhunter was released here. They got it in the UK. It was one of those ones where I think it was like supposed to be released here, but then they were shutting everything down.
Oh, that's a great game.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd highly recommend folks play that one. And let's see, he got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Game Audio Network Guild. Yeah, I mean, he does orchestral stuff as well as like electronics. So like you said, I mean, he's just so versatile. But yeah, like absolutely brilliant.
He got a special thanks on Sega Touring Car as well, and I know James is a big fan of Sega Touring Car.
Yeah,
and I don't know if he's actually composed anything, but I wonder if he's involved in the track selection.
Well, he had a relationship with like Avex Tracks, right? So I mean, maybe that was part. Yeah, I believe he did, and I would have to look it up. Otherwise, I might sound like a fool. But I thought he had a relationship with those guys, and maybe that was the reason for the special thanks, or I don't know. But yeah. I think if there's anything we missed, you know, with again his career, if you look at his body of work, just his Sega work on like Sega Retro is huge. But I mean, if you go and look at like his body of work outside of Sega, it's crazy. Like he's done so much. So he's one of the people I would love to get an interview with. One day, you know. Yeah.
No, I'd love to as well.
All right.
Goes to you, Pat. Who's your last pick?
You gonna one last one before you head out?
Sure. This is really difficult. I guess if I had to pick one, probably this is again. I'm picking a lot of people that are like, you know, they haven't done too much, but what they've done was, you know, just amazing, and that has to be Seiri Kobayashi. Like,
good choice.
From the Panzer Dragoon saga. Working on Nights in the Dreams, like, even did Shadowgate 64. I did not even know that. That soundtrack rocks. So, like, and of course, Panzer Dragoon Orta as well. Like, there's so much stuff that she's worked on, and like everything is just as much as I like Panzer Dragoon Saga, Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2 soundtrack, Saga soundtrack is just so nuts, and it's just amazing. It's like it like takes it to another world and level almost. You know, it's just one of my favorite soundtracks, and I just love everything about it, and especially her new remastered or reorchestrated series on vinyl is just put on a good sound system, muy perfecto, just amazing.
Yeah, she has a really good voice too. Like, her music is incredible.
Yeah, the Panzer Dragoon soundtrack is absolutely astounding. It's one that I frequently have like on Spotify. I really need to get that's another one I need to get the vinyl on alongside Streets of Rage. But there's just something about it. It's just so raw, but epic. You know, and you look at something like Behold, what is it called? Is it Behold Mighty Wings or something? God, the name's escaping right now. But you know, they're like the title theme. It's just
right.
Behold Precious Wings, absolutely incredible. But yeah,
oh, she did Orta too. She did Orta, yeah, which was another amazing soundtrack. Oh, and she did Sonic Drift on the Game Gear.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Sonic Drift 2, sir. The second one.
Sonic Drift 2, that's right.
Wait, it would have only come over here as Sonic Drift because we didn't get the original Sonic Drift. I think we only got the sequel.
Oh yeah, Sonic Drift Racing, that's funny.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess technically he's right.
But no, you're right.
It's right. It was
Sonic Drift 2. Yeah.
But you said Sonic Drift 1, but it still counts because it also is named by that. So
yeah,
right.
So you weren't wrong actually.
Yeah, and also did Deep Duck Trouble, which is a great little soundtrack as well. Cool. I'll wrap up then with my last one, and then we'll let you get some sleep, Pat. But the last one I wanted to shout out. And I'm probably going to butcher his surname because I'm not entirely sure how to say it, so you guys can correct me. But Jun Senui?
Jun Senui, yeah. I think
Jun
that's
Senui.
how I would say it.
Yeah. And I know we keep saying this, but another one I think is an absolute cornerstone of Sega, and he is incredibly prolific. And
guitar player.
That's right, yeah. So obviously got, I think, mostly recognized for his stuff with Crush 40, with... you know, for the Sonic Adventure games, but he's been around. He's been around for ages. You know, he had a hand in the Sonic 3 soundtrack, did the Angel Island theme, but I think he really came into his own on the Sega Saturn, and you can kind of tell when he's involved. Once you can clock his guitar sound, that's when I started noticing it in so many games, like in the original Sega International Victory Go, or is it Victory Goal Worldwide Edition over there? The game that launched with the Sega Saturn, at least the soccer game.
Right, Sega Worldwide Soccer, I think.
Yeah, he does the soundtrack for that, and you can tell it's him. He's got that signature guitar sound to it. Same, he's done F1 Challenge.
One of the best soundtracks on the Saturn.
Yeah.
Hot take. One of the best soundtracks on the Saturn, and that's saying something. There are a lot of good soundtracks on the Saturn, but F1 Challenge it goes so hard and it flies so low under the radar. You folks gotta listen to it. Every track is phenomenal, you know. So I can't agree with you enough on that one.
Oh, that game is just so slept on. It's so good.
Yeah.
I think
it really is.
I think it really does. It seems so unfair that it doesn't get the recognition it deserves, because it's a great playing game. It's got some decent content on there, and the soundtrack is amazing. It's like,
and it feels so. It was like Bell Labs or Bell Corp or something like that developed it, and it wasn't. It feels like a first party Sega game. Like they got so close to having it feel like, because for years I thought that it was first party Sega, because it's arcadey enough, even though it's an F1 game, you know. And I mean, it's but the soundtrack is like every bit Sega, you know, and it's got the blue skies too, so like everything about it, you feel like it's a first party Sega game, and that soundtrack is just killer. F1 Challenge, he worked on Sega Rally too, sorry, not Sega Rally 2, but Sega Rally as well, right?
He did work. I'm not sure what tracks he did on Sega Radio, but he did
like the guitar stuff, I imagine. Because there's a lot of
do you know? I think he actually did the replays from memory as well.
You know, like the you know, like and he worked on Sonic 3 and Daytona DCE. Like, you know how they redid the Daytona soundtrack. They did Daytona CCE, and there's a bunch of guitar stuff on there. Yeah, so
and the one thing that to me that I think really put him on the map, at least to me, is his work on Sonic Adventure, all the way to, like, you know, or Sonic Shadow the Hedgehog. Like, some of that music is probably some of the pinnacle Dreamcast soundtrack. Like the entire Sonic Adventure soundtrack, like my favorite being Station Square. Oh my god, or the Emerald Coast beat, the Emerald Coast.
Yeah,
oh my god,
that kind of like sitar sounding guitar where it's like bow, 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 bow.
like you reach it, like you feel like you're on a beach. It just
yeah.
and they're just going ham on that drum, like that drum is being destroyed. Like, if you hear the drums, like, oh my god, that drummer's arms must fall right off after they recorded that. But like the soundtrack for those two games, and I know they did I think they did all the themes as well for the most part, like besides a couple of them, like Omen for me, but like some of those themes, like, oh my god, like that's what put Sonic on the map for me, was that soundtrack and how amazing those games are. Like some of the best soundtrack, and I mean, it's so good they even had a whole concert around a lot of those songs for like the Sonic concerts. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, I love that you've mentioned kind of the Shadow the Hedgehog as well, Pat, because some of those, I love. It doesn't matter on Sonic Adventure, the original one, especially right. You hear like the short version, like when you've got the event going off, down, down. And then obviously you've got like the Shadow the Hedgehog themes, which are mostly done by Crash 40, and they just go all in on those tunes. I Am All of Me, and
I mean, it wouldn't be I Am All of Me if there's a crowd cheering when Maria dies and gets shot.
Oh, yeah. It's funny how the film actually sanitized a lot of that. They couldn't show someone Gerald Robotnik being executed by a firing squad on there while being chained up.
I'm surprised I didn't hear cheering in the movie theaters when Maria died.
Oh,
I was sad, but I didn't make up for it when I saw episode 3. I cheered when Anakin killed all those younglings. I was like, let's go. But no, it's just really iconic, and I think Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and all those games, Shadow and all that, would not be marginally as popular, because I mean, while I like the games, they aren't particularly amazing games. Like at least for Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
But like he puts Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 on the map or over the top, and I think carried a lot of Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog a lot, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, his Sonic 3, I can't choose between him and Richard Jacques in terms of Sonic 3D soundtrack, because the Sega, the 16-bit one, the Mega Drive one, is absolutely phenomenal as well, and that's done by Jun Sunui. Obviously, Richard Jacques' Sega Saturn one is phenomenal as well. I think it's just for a case of enjoy both.
Right.
But yeah, his work is incredible, and he's still doing stuff today. I know he got a little bit of criticism for his Sonic Superstars soundtrack, but I still thought that the melodies that he wrote were really good. And of course, he did some of the new tracks for Sonic and Shadow Generations as well. So that he's still at it, still with that signature style that he's got. I think he's absolutely astounding. And when I put on stuff like Sega Worldwide Soccer or Victory Goal, he did the soundtrack to most of those. I just love the tunes that he makes. He's absolutely phenomenal. He just, for that Saturn era, he just felt like he was like another cornerstone of the sound of that era. So he just
honestly, with him still being on, he's probably one of the OGs that are left working on the Sonic games, because he's still working on it pretty much up from Sonic 3 to now. Like, I mean, not even Yuji Naka's still on the games. What?
Tomoya Otani is another guy
he's on my list as well.
He's on your list. Well, if we're talking about Sonic now, like he did Sonic Frontiers, and he did Adventure 2. I mean, did Heroes. He worked on those games with Jun Senue. So I feel like he has to be mentioned at least.
Yeah.
And that
He's done some, like the Sonic Frontiers soundtrack, especially the cyberspace levels, because I really love those dance kind of
and flowing, with time, you flowing.
That's Arrow of Time is my favorite song.
I listen to that thing in my car, and honestly, that sounds like TJ Davis almost. I don't know who he got I don't know the name of the vocalist off the top of my head, but I mean, when I first heard it, I was like, is that TJ Davis? Because whoever they got, this sounds like it could be, like a Richard Jacques soundtrack. It sounds so good. Yeah.
It's such a good soundtrack. I put it on all the time, but yeah.
I wasn't trying to have that be my choice, but I just since Pat mentioned Adventures and stuff, I was we got to mention that guy too, because he did a lot of work
for sure.
on those.
For sure. And I don't want to not give credit where credit is due. It's just amazing that we're finally, we've got like this amazing, and I'm just glad that the people that made at least my favorite Sonic games are still part of Sega and their DNA, and Sonic and their DNA, which is important. And I'm glad that, without all these composers and the people that are here and are gone, I'm just really happy that they made Sega the way it is. Oh, excuse me, the way it is.
Yeah, that's brilliantly put, Pat. I think, and I think that's probably a good place to finish up, because it's
okay.
Go on, Dave. Were you going to say something?
Well, I saved my favorite composer for last, but that probably wasn't a good idea.
No,
maybe I could save him for next time. I don't know.
If you can,
there is a next time.
If we can do one more, I'm happy to do one
more.
Yeah,
I'll tank it.
Okay. I'll try to go fast. So I mentioned Masato Nakamura, Dreams Come True. Sonic games, amazing. Takanori Mitsuyoshi, I mentioned, amazing, right? And Yuzo Koshiro, Richard Jakes, all amazing, right? On paper, objectively, they're probably better than who I'm about to mention. Who I'm about to mention only even has, I don't know, 3. I don't know, maybe more, like maybe 4 Sega credits to his name. But the one game that he did, it's my favorite game soundtrack of all time. And he is crowned king as my favorite game composer of all time. Hands down, of all time. And that is Hideaki Kobayashi of Phantasy Star Online fame.
Absolutely.
Like the Phantasy Star Online soundtrack is just enough of a reason to play the game by itself. Like, if you just love music, do yourself a favor and play Phantasy Star Online, because it is such a rich tapestry of electronic music and just like vibes, and like every track is killer, from the cover to cover. Like, I can't even do it justice humming it, to be honest with you, because like his tracks they're not even so simple that you can just hum them. Like, there's multiple melodies interweaving and stuff like that. Like, when you get on Pioneer, which is like the space station, and you walk out, to go do your banking or your, buying stuff, or get, uploading your body to the planet or whatever. Like, all of the tracks, like, they just give the game such a texture, such a rich atmosphere. And I mean, I can't, like, I gush about this guy endlessly, like, because this soundtrack is so killer. He also did Initial D. He worked on like Initial D Special Stage. He did Sonic Battle, Heroes, Colors, and he also did PSO2. Like, so, and that's a whole, I'm sure Dan Trax could talk about that, with the PSO2 soundtrack. But I mean, Phantasy Star Online, and I know Pat loves Phantasy Star Online as well, big fan, Dreamcast.
Absolutely. Amazing
I feel like if you're a
soundtrack.
Dreamcast fan, you probably played this game, but anything you want to say, Dan, about, PSO?
I mean, I can only echo everything that you just said about PSO, and I think we need to do a podcast about PSO on its own at some point, because that game for a period of my life was kind of all I could think about. I played it hundreds of hours on the Dreamcast and carried on the Xbox. I was still playing.
Oh, you were an Xbox guy, eh?
Yeah.
I was GameCube.
Well, the two can actually play together now on the private servers, which is really cool.
I know, that's great.
But yeah, that soundtrack, it really is one that you just I always try to get across how amazing it is, and there's just like this feeling of wonder when you're being transported around on the Pioneer ship. And then when you make its way, and then it just kind of amps up as you go through the various stages and the dungeons and stuff. Like when you first go onto like the forest stage in Rogol, it's kind of like ooh and ah, and then it kind of ramps up, and then it kind of adapts. Obviously, it's quite reactive when you're fighting enemies and stuff. And it's the way that it's just got a vibe about it, and it's just so perfect. And the way that it just the way that I must have played thousands of hours of Phantasy Star Online, and that music is just absolutely ingrained into me,
ingrained in your brain,
and it's absolutely beautiful. Did he do Universe as well?
He did. Who did Universe? That was Kenichi Tokoi. Did Phantasy Star Universe, but Kobayashi may have consulted on it or may have worked on it as well. I just didn't have it in my notes. And Kenichi Tokoi was also on my list because he did Sonic Jam and he did Space Channel 5 and a bunch of other stuff. But I mean, so the title track, like that when you start out the game, you know, and there's like this orchestral like horns, you know, and the singer, you know, she sings A Whole New World, right? And that line, right? And then when you press start, you know, and it just crashes, like the sound crashes, like da, 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 da. You really do feel like it's a whole new world. It was a whole new world. We were online with our console for the first time, like, and with people in Japan, you know, typing on our keyboards, you know, like communicating with people in other countries, you know, playing simultaneously online. It was a whole new world, and it felt so vast and grandiose, you know, and like the just like the setup music, you know. Every track is just so grand, you know. He just creates such like a grand feeling of space exploration, you know, and exploring new worlds, and you know, it's just it is one of my favorite Sega games. I think Knights will always be my favorite Sega game, but it's like a close second. Fantasy's also a Sonic Team game, so I don't feel bad. And again, like Hideaki Kobayashi, my favorite game composer of all time, probably always will be. Yeah, that's where I'll end it for myself. I just had to get that in there.
Yeah,
and I have enough material here. We could do a part 2 because I have a bunch of other people that deserve credit.
I'd definitely be down.
Yeah, I've got a few more as well. But yeah, I think it's, you know, you look at these guys and you just look at the body of work and the stuff they contributed, and I think it's just, like we were saying at the beginning, it's just such a huge part of being a Sega fan is the music, and it's these guys have kind of brought it to life. And I think, you know, what you were saying, Pat, it's part of what makes it all so special, isn't it?
No, exactly. Like, I mean, without these guys, I mean, we'd have half of a game, and that's quite literally and metaphorically. Like, the music really carries a lot of what Sega has done over these years. I mean, yeah, you might be arguing that maybe some of the gameplay, when if you put generic Nintendo music over it, probably wouldn't be as good. But like, the fact that, you know, these soundtracks just pushed the limits of what Sega can do, just proved again that Sega was one step ahead of Nintendo and everyone else. Just the music just took advantage of, you know, all these composers and pop music, and really put all the games that Sega worked on the map, and influenced so many people in the industry that it's just unfathomable, and just countless people that really have come now that have been influenced by that music. And it just goes to show that, you know, that Sega really knew what it was doing, and they hired the right people for the right job.
And you know, it's rare, like it's kind of like lightning striking when you can get all the ingredients when you can get like the graphics, the gameplay, and the music together to create an experience that is like bliss, like that's basically just fills you with joy, you know. And video games have that power. I mean, we love games, and I think we make we apologize for certain games, and we offer grace to some games that are not that great. But like, there are always, like, take Space Harrier, go all the way back, take something like Space Harrier, where at the time you saw it, the graphics were so amazing, the music was amazing, and the control and the gameplay. And if you happen to be on one of those ride-on cabinets, you know, you have that as well. So I mean, you put all that together, and it literally just fills you with joy as a gamer, like, because everything about it is just so perfect. And you take something like Jet Set Radio, fast forward 2 decades, you take something like Jet Set Radio, and again, it's the same deal, you know, on the Dreamcast, with perfect music, perfect graphics, perfect gameplay, and character and style. Just everything comes together perfectly to create, like, not just a game, but an experience, you know. And that's the way I would characterize a lot of Sega games, is just everything, chef's kiss, you know, everything is just perfect, you know, where everything comes together and just creates like the most perfect experience, you know. And you had it on the Saturn with things like Panzer Dragoon Vi, you know, which we didn't even really talk about, but yeah, I mean, and so many other examples, you know. So I love that when you just feel a sense of bliss, like you just it's almost tear inducing. You're like, how is this video game so good? You know, how is it so perfect? You know, I've had those.
And I mean, I mean, I tell people like that all the time, but I'll hear a song or like a remix of a song, and like it'll take me back and it'll tear me up a bit. Like I think music really is the only genre that could do that to me, where it's like music will, make me feel emotional, as like want to tear up and like imagine like when I listen to it the first time, or when I'm listening to this epic thing. And every time it's always Sega music that does it to me. It's always Sega music.
No, it really is. It's just part of that Sega experience, and I think that's what makes it so special. But guys, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for toughing it out at the end there. But,
thank you, Pat.
I mean, I got to do it for you guys. I got to do it.
He can crash now. He can go crash.
He can go crash. Hibernate for a good few hours. But guys, just for anyone, everyone should know where to find you and where you are on the channel. But for those who may not, do you want to let them know what you're currently up to and where they can find you?
SHIRO.com. I would say that's a good starting
YouTube
point. Yeah, well, you can get to all of our stuff through the website. But yeah, we're at Play Sega Saturn on YouTube,
on Twitter, and on all our social medias. But just SegaSaturnShiro.com just to check out what we're doing.
That'll take you everywhere you need to go. And we got the Sega guys on there, of course, who are also Shiros, and Pandemonium, and we love Sega and we love Saturn, and that's what we're all about, is community and doing fun stuff related to Saturn. Every Friday we're on at 11 p.m. UK. What is it? 3 p.m. Pacific.
Yep. And 6 p.m. right now.
Eastern.
EST.
Right.
So on Shiro Show every Friday on our YouTube channel, which is just Sega Saturn Shiro. You can just check us out, do a live show, play games. It's just a fun time.
Fantastic. Yeah, definitely. People check out the Shiro Show. Check out the live shows, and check out the Discord as well. Always some good conversations going on in there. So talking about Discord, let us know what you think, what your favorite Sega composers are, your favorite Sega tunes in the comments below, or get in touch via the Sega Guys Discord or via the Shiro Discord. Just keep that conversation going. Love to hear what your thoughts are. If you've enjoyed the video, give us a like and subscribe, as that really helps the channel. And if you want to be extra mega, think about becoming a member, which you can do from as little as 99p. With Akira All Access members getting their names read out as a special thank you, like I'm about to do right now. So our Akira All Access members are David Owens, Nelson Sereno, Kaiju Leviathan, Tom Fun, Greg Matthews, Nick Tullock, Andy Mackey, Peter 007, Paul, Resident SD, Craig Williamson, Ian Mikowski, Stiff Peaks, G-Man, and our brothers, of course, at Sega Saturn Shiro. So thank you all so much for joining in. Guys, thank you for joining on this episode of the podcast. Until next time, we'll see you on the Sega side.
On the Sega side.
You must play Sega Saturn.
You must play Sega Saturn. Shiro.